to another episode of On the Block with Jen, okay? I'm your favorite bad guy, Jen, out of New York City, living on the West Coast now. As you guys know, you can reach me on the Block with Jen on all platforms, okay? Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Gmail. If you want to email me about a subject you'd like me to cover, or you want to collab with me, hit me on the block with Jen at Gmail. Or if you want to just tell me something, you don't want the chat to know, you don't want all the YouTube to know, hit me on the block with Jen at Gmail. It is good to see you guys here today. It is Monday. And like I said, I know this subject is heavy for Monday, but it's very apropos for Monday. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's cut through some of the BS that I've been seeing online, some news, some celebrity BS. You know, I always touch on the celebrity BS primero, and then I get into the nitty gritty topic. This topic is gonna be really good, and it's probably gonna be something that y'all can relate to. Okay, it's probably something that y'all even do, because I think we've all done it to a certain degree. I'll even talk about when I've done it, the dangers of hiding mental illness with social media. I think we've all done it. Some people do it more than others, and some do it to their detriment all the way till they get so depressed they commit suicide. Okay, but we're gonna get into that. First and foremost, welcome everybody. If you are one of my block babes, if you are here for the first time, buckle up. As you know, my ladies, most of my ladies and my gentlemen have wrenches in the chat. If you get too disrespectful, I do not mind debating. I do not mind passion. I don't even mind arguing. But if you get disrespectful and you get blocked by one of my block babes, I will not help you. I will not go to my block list and get you out, okay? So just have some, some decency and some civility. You guys can argue, but don't disrespect, and especially my ladies, that is not the channel. This is not the channel. This is not the chat. Do not do it. I know it happens a lot on YouTube. I don't allow it, okay? If you want to say whatever the hell you want to say, I know a lot of you hear from the Star Report. The Star Report doesn't block the trolls. We do, okay? Just FYI. I don't like women getting disrespected the way it normally happens on YouTube. I'm not having it. And plus, it's not necessary. If you want to debate a woman, you don't have to call her out her name. It's very, very simple. I could debate you without calling out your name, surprisingly, okay? But y'all know I could go there. So, mi gente, let's get into this. So, Trump just got raided by the FBI. His Mar-a-Lago home, okay, just got raided by the FBI, and they broke into that motherfucker safe, okay? They even broke into his safe. So, I don't know what the FBI is looking for, but they're not even saying what they're looking for. They haven't released a statement yet. But Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago did get raided by the FBI. Now, I don't know what they're looking for, but they came in guns blazing, move out the way, and tore his house up. I don't know what they're looking for, but it's going to be very interesting the next couple of weeks to find out what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for those P-tapes. Who knows? I don't know what they're looking for, but they're certainly determined to find it. I mean, to the point where they broke into his safe. So obviously they're looking for something, and I'm sure we'll find out in a couple of weeks. You know, they've been on Trump's ass for many, many years, and they must be getting close if they're breaking into his house. We shall see. Okay. In other celeb news, because that's what I consider Trump. I know he was the president, but I still consider him a celebrity that happened to be the president. He's a celebrity to me still. I never took him serious as a president, but that's neither here nor there. I don't have a dog in a fight. You guys know I don't vote, but that's a show for another day, okay? I don't have a dog in a fight. I just always thought he was a corny dude from the beginning. I've always thought that many, many years, so it's whatever. What's up, Trevor Jackson TV? You better not troll today. I'm going to be watching you, okay? Welcome. All right. I see a question there. I'll get to that in a minute if I can. What's up, Veganista? Good to see you. I love to see my ladies. I want to get y'all up on the panel. But if y'all want to chill in the chat, that is okay. Reese says it's a joke. Trump is untouchable. We shall see. Everybody's touchable, Reese. Everybody is touchable. Everybody. And some may take a little longer than others to get touched, but everybody's touchable, okay? Epstein thought he wasn't touchable. All right, guys, so in other celeb bullshit ass news, because you know these celebrities are always on something, okay? So Fidel Castro, okay, has just been cast, and a lot of Latins are mad. The Latinos are mad. And I have an opinion on that. You guys are not gonna like, but that's okay, because I'm always giving you opinions you don't like, and that's okay. We're still here, right? Unscathed, living, laughing, and loving, right? So as of recently, James Franco, the white actor, got cast to play Fidel Castro. And the Latins in Hollywood are angry. Specifically, John Leguizamo, however you want to pronounce it, okay? It is Leguizamo, but he says Leguizamo, I guess because it sounds more American, Leguizamo, but it's Leguizamo, right? And we all know, we all know John, you know what I mean? Leguizamo from a lot of movies, and you know he's pretty outspoken on his social media, you know what I mean, pushing the jab, and the jab meaning the vaccine and things like that. He's always very outspoken about Latin culture and what have you. The issue I have with him regarding this particular thing and other Latin actors and Latin people in general is that here's the thing, right? Acting is a job. You guys know I stress that to you. I am an actress, okay? Most recently, if you care and if you're nosy, I'm in a film called The Bag Girls 2. It's spinning on Amazon. I play a Colombian drug dealer. I am not Colombian, as you guys know. I am Puerto Rican, right? But I am an actress who speaks Spanish, who's able to play a Colombian. Now, will a Colombian watch that movie and be like, she's not doing the accent right? We don't talk like that. We don't walk like that. We don't speak like that. Abso-fucking-lutely. And they would be fucking right, because I'm not Colombian. I'm Puerto Rican. It's just like when I saw Carlito's Way, the girl that played Stephanie is black. She's not Puerto Rican. And I was like, that's not even our accent. Like, why is she talking like that? And she's the girl that belonged to the club, Steph, right? She belongs to the club. Remember when Benny Blanco, who happens to be played by John Leguizamo, got into the fight with Al Pacino, who played Carlito, who was supposed to be Puerto Rican, but is really Italian. You get where I'm going here? There are a lot of us, right, who are ethnically ambiguous to a certain degree, who can play different ethnicities, right? So you got the girl in Carlito's Way who plays Stephanie, who's black. You got Carlito, who's Italian, right? And then you got John Leguizamo, who some people say he says he's Puerto Rican, but his daddy says, no, the fuck we not. We Colombian. So we're all mixed up, right? Latinos are not a monolith, right? But we just all happen to speak Spanish. And some Spanish is different, right? So John Leguizamo is mad because James Franco got cast to play Fidel Castro. Now, I don't know about you, right? My background is acting, and I'm like, if you look the part and you can do the part, fucking give them the part. That's how I look at it. I don't gatekeep Latinidad, okay? Especially in Hollywood, because to me, Hollywood acting is about, can you do the job and do you look the part? Are you going to be convincing, right? That I've casted projects before. That's how I cast. Do you look the part? Do you sound convincing? Okay. If you're playing another ethnicity, do you have the chops to at least get close enough? Because we cannot be twins of the person that we are pretending to be. Acting is pretending to be, right? So I'm going to show you a picture of James Franco next to Fidel Castro. And depending on who you ask, right? I'm going to go further, but let me show you the picture first. Am I bugging, or is this Fidel Castro's twin? Or am I bugging? If I'm wrong, you guys tell me in the chat that I'm wrong. Okay, I don't know everything. I know what I know, but I don't know everything. You tell me if this is a bad cast, and then I'm gonna go a little further. This is James Franco and Fidel Castro. Now I gave y'all a few seconds so y'all can look at him. Fidel Castro, James Franco. Now, I don't know about y'all, but they look like twins, okay? They look like twins. Now, can James Franco pull it off? We will not know until we see the project, okay? But I think this is far from the Zoe Saldana trying to play Nina Simone, all right? This is not that. I think James Franco very much looks like him, and if he can pull it off, salute to him as a fellow actor, right? Again, I don't gatekeep Latinidad, especially I think it's stupid to do in Hollywood for actors because acting is so dynamic and it's about who could pull it off, right? Who could be most convincing? Who can bring you into that world where you forget the person's even acting, right? Catherine Zeta-Jones played Griselda Blanco. And when I heard that she did, before I saw the movie, I was like, what? How the Catherine Zeta-Jones, Griselda Blanco? Ain't no way, ain't no way. And then I saw the film and I was flabbergasted. I was like, holy fuck. Like, she killed that role. If you haven't seen Catherine Zeta-Jones as Griselda Blanco, look it up. That movie is bad ass. Okay, so salute to her, someone who is not, you know what I mean, really Colombian and actually played one and did well. I think Griselda Blanco is Colombian, right? Am I right? Colombian? Am I right? If I'm wrong, correct me. I believe she's Colombian. I'm not sure. I get my drug lords mixed up. So John Leguizamo is like, oh my God, why are they Latins are still playing, and I'm gonna give you the icing on the cake, and it's probably gonna bug y'all. Somebody said fraternal twins. This is probably gonna bug y'all at the end because it's about determinism, and I know people don't like that shit. They don't like self-determinism, but I'm gonna give you the icing on the cake. So John Leguizamo is basically saying that it's fucked up. It literally said fucked up, right? Because, Latin actors are still struggling in Hollywood to play roles that are not drug dealers or prostitutes or maids. And here we have James Franco, but you're being cast to play Fidel Castro. I don't care about that shit. And I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, John Leguizamo, okay, has the same 24 hours as Hollywood, as anybody running Hollywood, as any executive producer that's white, any producer that's white, any writer that's white, any director that's white. John Leguizamo has the same 24 hours in a day, okay? He is also, he has a net worth of 8 figures, and he's had a net worth of 8 figures for a very long time. John Leguizamo's Latin friends and co-workers also, okay, are in the tax bracket of 8-figure Latinos who have a network and connections up the ass, okay, who are very well connected in Hollywood. They can pick up the phone, make a phone call, reach out to Jennifer Lopez, who's worth 9 figures. Jennifer Lopez is worth 9 figures. John Leguizamo can pick up the phone and call Mark Anthony, can call Ricky Martin, can call Bad Bunny, okay? We're talking about 8 and 9-figure Latinos who have been in the industry 20 years, some more than that. And I'm just talking about the notable names, okay? I'm just talking about the names that we hear, the household names. But behind the scenes, there are even more Latinos worth that much. So I am sorry that I cannot sympathize and get on James Franco's ass for landing the role. And by the way, Hollywood is a business. For some reason, people think they're in the business of feelings. Hollywood is a business, okay? And if anyone's ever had a business or worked for a business or understands business, you know it's about money. It's not about feelings. It is not a soup kitchen, and it is not a church. It is a business, okay? They are the Latins in Hollywood are in position to bring other Latins up, to write, direct, and produce projects where Latins are not playing drug dealers and maids. They are in that position. So I'm sorry, John Leguizamo, if I'm not crying tears because James Franco got cast as Fidel Castro. I am not buying it. I do not subscribe to it, okay? It's, again, sitting under the umbrella of the white man is not letting me. The white man is not letting us. Look what the white man is doing to us, right? And this happens in the Black film industry as well. Look how they're casting us as drug dealers. And I am a writer, okay? I wrote a series that I am currently shopping. The entire cast is Black and Afro-Latino. My entire cast. With a sprinkle of white people, okay? But the entire cast is Black and Afro-Latino. There is power in the pen, right? Now, how long is going to take me to sell that project and bring it to full production? I don't know. But I'm grabbing the bull by the horns. So for someone like John Leguizamo to be in this business 20 some odd years and be 8 figures in cash with a network up his ass of very, very successful Latins to still be sitting on social media talking about, look how they doing us, is fucking disgusting. It's laughable. It's fucking despicable. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. It doesn't move me none. Now, Ana Navarro, I'm sure you guys know Ana Navarro. She's a political strategist, commentator. You've seen her everywhere on CNN, on UFO. She's Ana Navarro, and I like Ana Navarro because I like strong women. I like me some Ana Navarro. But she weighed in as well. She just became permanent co-host of The View. Yay, Ana Navarro. Congratulations to you. But she said something also that I didn't like. She said, and again, people, you can like somebody and not agree with them all the time. That's how we're supposed to be. I know social media has gassed us into thinking you have to agree with someone 100% of the time in order for you to like them or tolerate them, but that is not true. The truth is that we're supposed to disagree. Some of you may be disagreeing with me right now, and that is okay, because tomorrow there'll be another subject and you may agree with it, right? That is okay. So Ana Navarro, the political strategist and commentator, you've seen her everywhere, she said on The View that no, how did she word it? No, because I want to get it right. No Latino actor, this is what she said, no Latino actor worth their salt is going to sign up to play a murderous dictator, referring to Fidel Castro. So she agreed with John Leguizamo. She agreed with John Leguizamo and said no actor worth his salt would sign up to play Fidel Castro, the murderous tyrant, dictator. And I'm like, are we losing our rabbit-ass minds? Short answer, yes. But people are forgetting what an actor is and what acting is. And everybody's story not only deserves to be told, but people want to know. People want to know. Since the beginning of time, right, there have been stories and biopics written of the most despicable people on the planet. There have been movies made about Hitler. There have been movies made about Jeffrey Dahmer. So all of a sudden, in 2022, no Latin actors worth their salt should sign up to play Fidel Castro. What fucking planet is Ana Navarro on? Like, what planet is she on? Does she know what movies are and Hollywood is? She's acting like if a Latin actor was like, yeah, I'll play Fidel Castro, does that mean that they believe what Fidel Castro did? Does that mean they agree with Fidel Castro? And also, let's keep it 100. I don't know if I got any Cubans in my chat, but if I have a Cuban watching this after, please drop it in my comments. There are some Cubans that swear by Fidel Castro and salute him. I think he was the best thing that happened to Cuba. And then there are other Cubans who loathe Fidel Castro. That is a fact. There are Cubans who love Fidel Castro, depending on who you ask, and there are Cubans who hate Fidel Castro. So what the fuck is Ana Navarro talking about that no actor worth their salt is going to play? Do you know that that is an actor's job? It is literally their job. I'm going to keep stressing. I don't care what project I'm in. I'll always be sitting here before you telling you acting is a job. That's all it is. Like, people really make actors more important than they are, but it's a job. It's no different than you clocking into work at 9 o'clock and leaving at 5. It's just my job calls for me to be on TV, and your job calls for you to be in an office. It's not bigger than that. It is a job. So, en qué cabeza cabe, okay, for someone to say no actor worth their salt was signed up to play Fidel Castro? It's a fucking acting job. What planet are you on, Anna? Like, what planet are you on? It's a job. The most despicable characters, everyone's story deserves to be told. We fucking want to know. And now I want to know extra because I want to know if James Franco could pull it off. But I am really sick and tired of Latin and Black people, okay, talking about what white Hollywood is not letting us do, or how white Hollywood is casting us. There is power in the fucking pen. I know way too many Black and Latin actors that have not picked up a pen. They're just waiting to get cast. And then when they get cast as drug dealers and prostitutes and hookers and maids, then they get mad. Then it's Hollywood's fault. It's Hollywood's fault I'm being cast as a maid. No, it's your fucking fault if you stop treating Hollywood and white people in general like they adopted you. Like, remove the white titty out of your mouth, stop breastfeeding, have some self-determinism. John Leguizamo, Anna Navarro, Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony, Ricky Martin, Bad Bunny, okay, Zoe Saldana. I'm not talking about struggling actors here. I am talking about actors worth 8 and 9 figures who can open up their own production companies. How the hell did Tyler Perry come from nowhere, literally being homeless, living in a fucking car, whether you like Tyler Perry or not? That man said, fuck Hollywood. I'm writing my own shit. I'm producing my own shit. I'm directing my own shit. And he's not an anomaly. He's just the one that had the balls to do it. But anybody could do it. Anybody can do it. Writers and actors have the same 24 hours that Tyler Perry has. So I'm calling a big fucking cap, and I'm throwing a big fucking Yankee cap at John Leguizamo playing his violin about James Franco being cast as Fidel Castro. And I'm going to watch that bitch because I want to know if he could pull it off. Now, if he can't, if he sucks ass, then I'll be back here and we'll revisit. And we'll talk about how horrible a casting it was. Till then, John Leguizamo got to put up or shut up. Period. Period. And anybody else that's like, white Hollywood's not letting us in. Y'all are weird. Do you understand that that is their house? That is like somebody going to your house that you built, that you cook meals in, that you raise your children in. That's like somebody coming into your house where you pay bills. That's like somebody coming into your house and telling you, you need to do that for me. Excuse me? You need to do that for me. Excuse me. Hollywood is a white man's house. If you want to run your house your way, you build a house. You build it. You. With that said, shout out to the Arreo brothers who worked under Tyler Perry, okay? Cuban man. Is it Arreo? I want to get it right because I want you guys to support this man. Arreo brothers. I want to get this right because these men are freaking dope. Yes, AREU, Arreo Brothers Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, is a gentleman of Cuban descent that worked under Tyler Perry, okay? Worked his ass off under Tyler Perry. Now he has his own studios, and he's Cuban. And he started working security for Tyler Perry. This guy came out of nowhere, Latino. Way after John Leguizamo started his career. Way after. So you got people that in Hollywood not letting us in. And then you got people that say, I'm gonna build my own fucking house. It is 2022. Let me tell you something. These people should be embarrassed that in 2022, embarrassed to have 8 figures in the bank and still be crying about, in a 20-some-odd-year career, and still be crying about, wait, Hollywood, they're casting me as a drug dealer again. I gotta be Papo the drug dealer from 116th Street. With 8 figures in the bank, with a network up the ass, with Hollywood's A-list in your contacts, in your motherfucking contacts, A-list. You sit at the Oscars. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So no, I don't give a fuck that James Franco got cast. Congratulations. I hope he pulls it off. I'll be watching it. Hollywood is a business. They're not in the business of feelings. They're in the business of money. If you don't like how you're being treated at a table, get the fuck up and go build your own table. And I've been saying this for years. So I'm surprised that John Leguizamo is yet again in 2022 talking about who gets cast, what Latins get cast, when this has been happening for years. No, that's not what we're doing. And that's not what we're doing in 2022. So I sell my project. I get me a little Netflix deal, right? He's still going to be complaining. 25 years in the game now with 8 figures in his account. No. And I like Anna Navarro, but no, sis. No, sis. I'm sorry. No, you don't understand the business of entertainment at all. So moving on. I've bothered y'all enough with that. I'm gonna check the yes, Juana, thank you. Super chat break. Thank you for the super chat. Very, very important. When love is not being served at the table, build your own instead of whining. And I'm always gonna tell y'all that, whether you like it or not. Stop complaining. Like I'm really wondering, and I'm wondering if I'm to the point now where I'm looking at these celebrities and I'm like, are you doing, is it like a press move for y'all to do that? That's how I'm looking at it now. And by the way, I've said all of this under John Leguizamo's comments. I don't know if he's read them or not, but I've said shit like this under their comments when I hear them crying about this one's not being cast and that one's not being cast. These motherfuckers are worth too much money to be crying about what's being served at the table. You do not sit at the table and then complain about the crumbs you get. It is ridiculous. And I'm saying this for Latin actors and for Black actors. Okay, so moving on. I had to get that off my chest. I was like, I know they ain't starting that shit again. All right, guys. Jabari, I'm gonna do this favor for you, but I usually don't read the $2 super chats. But you my peoples. My super chats gotta start at $5. And speaking of, if you rather Cash App than the super chat, it's scrolling on the bottom on the Block with Jen Cash App if you want to buy me a smoothie and support the show. Jabari Bryant says Lincoln Motion Picture Company, first film 1920. Jabari, what do you mean by that? You can elaborate or you could come up. DJ Torch say he's not crying. Who's not crying? Who's not crying? Who? All right, you guys gotta elaborate because I don't know all y'all talking about. But I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna drop the link early so you guys can come up while everything I'm saying is fresh in your minds in case you want to address anything I'm saying. If I'm wrong, tell me how I'm wrong. If I am wrong, tell me how I'm wrong regarding this subject in particular. not in 1942, but in the year 2022. How am I wrong in 2022? Now, if this was 1942, okay. But in 2022, I want you to tell me, how am I wrong? And nobody better come up here and say, well, they won't get greenlit. The Hollywood studios won't get greenlit. They won't greenlight them because kids now are shooting films with their cell phones. With their cell phones. Okay. Oh yeah, fulana la cubana. Oh duh. I'm like, are there any Cubans in my chat? And I'm like, fulana la cubana. Laz Alonso is Cuban. I actually interviewed him. Wow, when I first started the YouTube thing, I did a colorism in the Latin community. And I interviewed Laz Alonso. It's here somewhere in my gallery if you guys want to scroll back and see it. But I interviewed Laz Alonso and Ida Rodriguez, the comedian Ida Rodriguez. And we talked about colorism in the Latin community. All right, guys. So again, I'm going to drop the link early. Tristan says, why do I feel John was given the script and threw it on his multi-million-dollar marble coffee table and forgot and he's mad now? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he wanted to play Fidel Castro. I don't know. But it's absolutely ridiculous now. Gold Crown says, John Travolta played a Russian. His accent was whack. That movie was still fire. Right. And for instance, the reason why he got cast, I'm sure, is because he's John Travolta. Right. And people like seeing their favorite actors. And John Travolta has many fans. So I'm sure the producers was like, he don't look Russian. He don't sound Russian. But it's John Travolta. I think that's another thing people forget, that a lot of actors that aren't cut out to do certain jobs get cast because, you know, their box office draws. That is why they get cast. And I think people that talk a lot of shit about Hollywood forget that Hollywood also cast in that way. Like, is this person a big star, right? Some people didn't like Will Smith and Muhammad Ali. Some people did, but it's Will Smith. So he's going to get cast so you can go and watch it. That is why they do it like that. So it surprises me how ignorant people are to show business. It is show business, okay? Oh, somebody has faith in James Franco. Marcos Orlando says, most Latinos are too busy to care or complain. If Franco is a dope actor, he'll pull it off. We shall see. We shall see. All right, guys. So I am going to drop the link, and then I want to get into my main subject, which is really, really deep. Now, I did say early on in my little rant, the reason why I think it's very apropos for Monday, this subject, the dangers of hiding mental illness with social media, is because most suicides are committed on Monday. Most suicides are committed on Monday. Sunday being the second most popular day for suicide. Monday, which says a lot about our system. Because what happens on Monday? We go back to work from a weekend that we weren't working, right? That is the human schedule that was given to us at birth, right? You go to school from around 8 to 3, all the way up to 12th grade, some college. Then you get a job and you're working from 9 to 5. You get those 2 days off, right? We're conditioned from a very young age. So it doesn't surprise me at all that most suicides are committed on Mondays. Doesn't surprise me at all. At all. Because Mondays is a very gloom day, right? We hate Mondays. Everybody hates Mondays. We don't know why, we just hate Mondays. Everybody hates Mondays, right? It is ingrained in our brains. We hate Mondays. I hate Monday. Oh my God, it's Monday. Oh my God, it's almost Monday. Oh my God, well, you know Mondays, right? From when we're very, very young. Everybody hates Mondays. So I'm not surprised. I am not surprised that most suicides are committed on Monday and not Friday, right? Code Red said Friday is club day. Oh yes, NH, the actress. She's in a lot of trouble. Fiery car crash, DUI. NH, going to jail. That's interesting. Big Truck says, apparently suicide is high among dental assistants. Really? My sister's a dental assistant. She's a very happy person. But she's very calm. My sister's the opposite of me. You guys would like her. She's the opposite of me. Very sweet woman. Okay, guys. So that's why I wanted to do this suicide thing on Monday specifically. This story, although it happened earlier in the year, really stuck with me. And I wanted to dissect it a bit. Oh, shit. Veganista said, I don't like Mondays, a school shooter in the 70s. Not my sister. Not my sister, Cora Negro. Cara Negro. So this story stuck with me. A young man, by young, I mean 26, Larvell Huddleston. That's a plantation name for your ass, isn't it? Huddleston. The Huddleston plantation. You know these ain't our fucking native names, right? Huddleston. These is not our native names, honey. Anyway, that's a different show for another day. Larvell Huddleston in Milwaukee, Brown Deer, Milwaukee. Brown Deer, Milwaukee. I don't know if you guys have heard of Brown Deer, Milwaukee. I don't know if you heard the story of Larvell Huddleston, but he's a young man, 26 years old, who shot and killed his the mother of his child, only 23 years old, beautiful young girl, Ariana Reed. They had a 2-year-old little boy. Ariana was studying to become an RN, a registered nurse, and she will not get to live that dream because she is now gone. So Larvell Huddleston, it was a murder-suicide. They were co-parenting their 2-year-old. Ariana just came back from practicing some little sport with the 2-year-old, brought him back to her child's father, Larvell Huddleston, and they got into some sort of verbal dispute, and he shot at her, reloaded, and emptied the magazine. 2 men tried to help her. He killed the man that tried to help her and shot a third man. That third man survived. His child's mother, Ariana, and the man who was helping her did not survive. They both passed away. Larvell Huddleston then went to his house with his son and killed himself, right? And the reason why I want to tie this in to the dangers of hiding mental illness with social media is because we see a lot of this happening. I've witnessed a lot of this myself. Like I said, some of us may have done this too, where we're feeling down one day, but then we'll be online like, no, everything is okay. Let me just throw up a picture of when I was in a club 3 weeks ago, right? Like, I'm not feeling this way, but I'll just throw up a picture of me in a club 3 weeks ago, and then that'll have people thinking that I'm popping this weekend, right? But we're not really feeling that way. And when I looked at the social media, the TikToks and the Facebooks of these 2 young people, looking at the social media, and we've seen people do it in these spaces too, right? You know the joke I have where everybody is rich here, everybody is happy here, everybody has the best marriage and children and co-parenting situation. Everybody, you ask them, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. Where you live? Oh, I'm in a mansion. What you pushing? I'm in a Mercedes Benz. Meanwhile, they don't own the freaking mansion. They're backed up in payments with the car. Their baby mother hates them. They can't take care of their children properly. They drink too much. They smoke too much, right? That's the B story. No one's going to give you the B story online. They're going to give you the A story. And the A story is, oh, I'm pushing the Benz and, I got money. Look at this money phone. I'm rich, bitch. I'm good. That's the A story. And when I went on the social media of these two young people, it was very much the A story. Very much the A story, doing the TikTok dances, right? He's holding the money phone, right? Everybody's happy, happy, happy. Look at my son, he's 2. And this murder-suicide revealed what was really going on in his mind. So, unfortunately, for Ariana Reed's, his child's mother's family, he did this all on Facebook Live, right? Because social media has become a part of our everyday lives to the point now it's gotten so bad, people are murdering people on social media live. It is happening live now, right? So it's become the most despicable type of reality show you could ever imagine. This happened February 5th, 2002. So I'm going to show you, I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail, but I have the couple in the thumbnail, both Larvell and Ariana are in the thumbnail, but I'm going to show you pictures of them here as well and the video. And I'm going to show you what they look like online. And then I'm going to show you the video of when he was running around the house trying to commit suicide by cop, but that wasn't working. So then he decided to kill himself. This kid, I say quick kid because he's 26, right? If you're in your 20s, at my age, you're a kid to me, right? So this kid, in the Facebook Live, if you watch the entire video, and of course, I don't have the entire video for you guys, but if you watch the entire video, he even walks over to a table where he's neatly folded the clothes that he wants to wear in his coffin. Okay, so he walks over to the table and he says, this is what I want to wear in my coffin, neatly folded. He has it neatly folded, right? Also, his 2-year-old son is in the home. He puts the little coat on the little son, gives him something to eat, some pizza. This is all Facebook Live. And he's yelling to the cops to come get his son because he's going to kill himself, right? Thank goodness he did not hurt the baby, but it's still unfortunate that he killed his baby's mama. And this may be controversial, but if you're feeling suicidal, please leave other people out of it. Please. Leave other family members out of it. If you are to the point where it's like, I cannot live, leave family members out of it. Okay? Unfortunately, this man didn't do this, and now the baby, the 2-year-old, has no parents. Right? So this is because you guys know this is Larvell here, Larvell Huddleston. He's on social media and he has a lot of pictures where he's holding a lot of money, right? We know guys on social media to talk about how much money they have and they're always showing their social media and what have you. Here's another picture of him and his son holding a money phone again, right? Because that is what these kids do now. They got to show you how rich they are and how famous they are. He was also an aspiring rapper. Here is Ariana Reed in one of her classes where she was trying to be a registered nurse. That's Ariana Reed. That is Larvell Huddleston's child's mother, only 23 years old, beautiful young girl with aspirations. And I'm going to show you, not, from the outside looking in, right? We see a lot of people do that. We see them put on that display, right? We've been on panels with people who like, yeah, look at me in my Versace robe. You know what I'm saying? I got the Versace shoes. Look, I got a wall of Jordans behind me. I'm killing it. Oh, look at my wife. Look at my beautiful wife. Yeah, look at this Rolex. I'm banging. Look at me. Look at me. I'm banging. I'm on top of the world. Everything's perfect in my world. Just perfect. We good over here, right? We good. We see that over and over and over again, right? We see it a lot. So I'm gonna play the video. It's not graphic, but I'm just gonna show you what his mind state really was behind the money phone, behind the stacks of cash, behind I'm a rapper and I'm the best rapper you'll ever see, behind all of that, behind I love my son and I'm all about my son, right? Behind all of that. And then I'm gonna give you some statistics that are probably gonna blow your mind. So here's the video of Larvell the day of the murder suicide.
Hey, y'all, I just want to say I'm sorry. This is going to be the last day everybody hear from me, bro. This is going to be the last day y'all hear from me, bro. I'm sorry. There's just been too much going on. Police out here. She did. Police right there. Somebody come get my son first. This not finna end well for nobody, cuz. Yeah, so I've been dealing with a lot, but trying to... Ain't nothing finna justify my actions, bro. I've been dealing with a lot. I just need somebody to get my son. Sorry, y'all. I'm just ready to die, bro. Just ready to get this shit over with.
So that's what really was going on in Larvell Huddleston's mind, which is why I said the dangers of hiding mental illness with social media. Social media allows people to wear a mask. It allows them to wear a mask, and it allows them to suppress and ignore their mental illness, because on social media, you can pretend. You can pretend you're okay. And it's the best kind of pretending, because all you have to do is upload a video or a picture. With that said, I want to throw this up really quickly, just for safety and for trigger reasons. The suicide hotline is now 988. Before it was 1-800, blah, 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 right? But I guess they made it easier because suicide is on the rise. If you did not know, it is the second and third leading cause of death for Black and Hispanics. Did you hear that? It is the second and third leading cause of death for Black and Hispanics, and it is on the rise, okay? The age range for suicide is now age 10 to 35. Age 10 to 35 within the last decade, and it is on the rise. And I always say, people are like, no, Jen, you're too paranoid. No, Jen, that's not the reason. The other thing that's been on the rise and in our brains on a continuum 24 hours a day has been social media. It has been social media. So when you ask why are kids 10 to 35 now so suicidal, what is going on? What is going on in the world? The biggest change and the biggest difference that we've had in the past 10, 15 years has been social media, the influence of social media, the damage. I told you last week, I judged a pageant of girls from the age around 5 or 6 to 21, and they all mentioned social media has had an impact on their self-esteem. They feel like they're not enough. They feel like they have to compare themselves to women who look perfect. This is a real thing, and we have to take it seriously, because the easiest thing to do when you ask someone, hey, are you okay? They're going to tell you they're okay. And then they're going to post the pictures showing they're okay, whether it's with a money phone and their new Jordans or their new car. So the new suicide hotline, you can text, you can call. It's 988. It is right here. 988. Okay. So that young man appeared to be, I mean, let's say you're just scrolling by. You're like, wow, look at that stack of money. That boy good. Look how he dresses. That boy good. He looks happy in his rap videos. That boy good. Look at his son's mother. She's so pretty. Ooh, she's studying to be a registered nurse. They good. That is what people want you to think because they're hiding behind the facade of social media success. Those money phones, that's social media success. What are your bills? What are your assets? What do you own? It don't matter because I got this money phone. So are people using social media to hide their mental illness? I say yes. I say yes. I say yes. And it's going to get worse. And I know that's a throwaway statement. Everybody's always saying it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And it doesn't really mean anything until that hits home, universe forbid, for all of us. Universe forbid. But I have some close friends who have lost friends to suicide. And I would have never heard that back in my teenage years. We used to hear that in passing, rarely. Rarely we used to say, what? He committed suicide? Oh my God. Now it's on Facebook Live. Now the friend of the friend did it, or one of your relatives, because everybody is A-okay on social media. Everybody's rich and beautiful and perfect and in a perfect marriage and in a perfect relationship. Everybody, I got the Rollie, I got the money phone, I got a Mercedes-Benz, I got a kid on it. Everybody is perfect here. But you got to log off. And when you log off, what is happening? That video, if you guys want to search it, it's Larvell Huddleston. The correct spelling of his name is on the thumbnail, but the video is much, much longer. And he goes into mental illness. And he goes into, you guys think that everybody's okay or it's a joke. This mental illness shit is real. Like he goes on, okay? He elaborates on his condition. He goes into full detail of why he's feeling what he's feeling and why he can't take it anymore. But from the outside looking in, both these kids look healthy and happy and they were doing their thing. So are you yourself hiding your mental issues with social media? Are you suppressing it to the point where you explode? Right? I remember Jim Carrey said something that was so poignant to me. He said, depression is your body reacting to the act you're putting on for people. And I thought that was profound. He said, depression is your body reacting to the act that you're putting on for people. Your body just gets tired. I'm tired of telling people I'm okay. I'm tired. Right? So talk to your people. Call your people. Don't let okay be okay. Because everybody's going to tell you they're okay. Everybody. People who are suicidal are not going to say, how am I? Oh, I was thinking about killing myself last night. Other than that, I don't know. I'm going to go get this soda. Like, don't stop at okay. If someone says they're okay, be like, how so? What are you doing lately? What do you think about doing tomorrow? You still have that goal I remember you talking about? How are the kids really doing? Are they okay in school? How's your marriage doing? Right? Because you never know. You may be the person, right, that person opens up to. Because suicide is always a shocker, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? It's like, what? I just saw him the other day. I just saw her the other day. She seemed so happy. I had no idea. It's always a shock, right? So if you really care about your people, understand that now they are under the demon of social media. Social media is a demon, and it is coming for your family and your kids. Social media is a big demon that eats money. And the more people that are on social media, the more money they make. So they're going to try to keep your children, your spouse, your husband, your daughter, your nephew, your son. They are going to try to keep you there as long as they can. And they're going to feed you. You're not enough. You could be scrolling around feeling good, right? You're like, I feel good today. Then you scroll around and then you see a girl who's more fit than you. Or you see a guy that's taller than you and all the girls are in the comments saying, damn, I love that you tall. That's going to make you feel the ways. And I know none of us care, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about anything. I don't care about that. That don't affect me. But if you're constantly doing it on a 24-hour basis, you know, we're on these bitches a lot. We wake up, we reach over for it like it's the fucking morning newspaper. Let me see if anybody replied to my picture. Half sleep. We be like this. Let me see. Who the fuck that? Oh my God. Let me block this bitch. That's what we do in the morning. Then we do it on our breaks. It's no more cigarette breaks. It's breaks. You see one person pull out their cell phone and 5 other people do it at the same time. Oh shit, that's right. I haven't checked. Thank you for reminding me. We do it on the way home from work. We do it in between dinner. And we do it right before bed. It is the first thing we look at in the morning and the last thing we look at night. And that's the majority. Now, I know you guys haven't seen this in a minute, but I'm talking about the majority of social media users, and the age span is crazy. It is the first time ever in the history of our existence that the age span of a habit starts as young as toddlers all the way to 80 and 90. I see 80 and 90-year-olds on social media. And remember, usually trending things are generational, right? It's like the stuff we used to do when we're young. We don't do it anymore. And now our kids do it. Our parents don't do what we're doing now, so on and so on. But social media is the first habit that got everybody. From the time a little kid could hold a phone without dropping it, all the way up to 80s, 90s. That shit is serious. It's serious. And social media can lead to some serious depression because you can pretend here. And the dopamine hit you get from people accepting and liking that you pretend is lethal. It's lethal. You guys need to look up the comparison. I wish I had it here, but the comparison of a cocaine hit to the brain and a social media dopamine hit to the brain. I'm telling you, it will blow your mind. Write this note for yourself. Write this note for yourself. The hit your brain gets from social media acceptance and a cocaine hit, you're going to be floored. I'm going to bring up my panelists right now. I've been talking long enough. What's up, OG Patrice? How are you, lady?
I'm good, Jen. How you doing?
I'm really good. And I'm really good.
No, I'm great. How you really doing? Right?
Right? Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. I'm really good, sis. Thank you for asking. I'm really good.
Good.
I'm
That's
peaceful.
that's wonderful. This is actually a really great topic to talk about because it's real. You know, when you discover and see traits of people on social media that's suffering with mental illness, you can kind of figure out who these people are, right? And then you start doing your own research of like some symptoms, some triggers, some some things that pinpoint what type of mental illness they may have. People don't realize that narcissistic traits is a mental illness as well, just like depression, bipolar, schizophrenic, and all of that, right? And I think that people literally are more predominantly hiding their mental illness behind the social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, like whatever. They paint a picture of what they want people to think, the life they live in, and it's all good and the flashy flash and the whole nine, and they dressed up so well on the outside but dying on the inside, basically. I lost three people to suicide, one relative and two friends. So and when I tell you, I never saw any of them coming. Like you said, my cousin served in the Navy, had kids, was married, hadn't seen him in years. He comes in town all of a sudden because he lived in another state. And we just thinking, oh, he's in town, he want to visit family. But when you look back on retrospect, it was little things, little subtle things that was there. Because when he was there, he was making sure that he wanted to see all the predominant people that he grew up with. He made it his business. He kept saying, where so and so live? Let's go. I want to go see them. He did it right in that moment. And we just thinking, okay, he want to try to make his rounds, while he's in town. But that was literally his way of saying goodbye to everybody. He got back to his home state of Virginia and had weights on his waist and walked out into the ocean. Like a week after he came to town, saw everybody. We talked about old times growing up as kids, never saw it coming. Another one of my girlfriends, all the years I had known her, never known she suffered with mental illness. She wrote a letter. She blew her brains out. And she wrote a letter, if I don't get it right, and I'm a vegetable, please unplug. I don't want to be on this earth no more. Like, this shit is real. This is a girl I went out with. And the other one, he hung himself over a woman because he was an introvert guy. First girlfriend he ever had, broke his heart, and he couldn't take it. He couldn't take it. And so, when people say that they're okay, you really have to ask them, are you really okay? How are you doing? Because we say it in passing, not realizing that, most of the time people are going to say okay. But if you don't dig deeper and say, no, how you really doing? How's your family doing? How are your children? Like you say in your marriage, is everything okay? I haven't seen you in a while. Haven't heard from you in a while. Whatever. Because if they are not doing their regular behavior of things that they normally do, and they start falling back and shying away from family and friends and not taking care of themselves, their hygiene. Because when I saw the guy that I grew up with since I was 19, he looked horrible. He was always a guy on point with his hygiene, the way he dressed. And when I saw him, and we had a conversation, Jen, 2 days before he hung himself. And when he said to me that he didn't think he could live without that woman, I said, let me take you to the hospital right now. Because if you're not in the moment with that person, but you can't make a grown person do anything. I couldn't pull him and drag him and make him go. He's like, no, sis, I'll be okay. I said, but you just said to me that you don't think you can live without this woman. And 2 days later, I begged him, Jen. So, and then they don't realize how it affects the other person. Because even though I tried everything in my power to talk him into taking him to the hospital right then and there, he wouldn't go. there's still some form of guilt. I always felt. So it makes you realize it's always, you think after the fact, could I have done more? Could I have done more? Could I have said more? Why did I let him leave and walk away after he told me he'll be okay? He just needed to rest and this. And but when he said rest, he literally meant rest, like forever. So pay attention to the signs and the notes. And I know we can't make grown people do anything, but yeah, it's real. Like and I see it so prominently on social media with certain people and their behavior and how they act and how they pretend. So yeah, absolutely.
So sorry to hear that. You know, bringing up social media, and then I want to throw it to the panel. You know me, I like people watching, and even on my channel, the way people react to my commentary and the way they keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and you know, the commentary is vitriolic and they sound really angry, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way on earth someone who doesn't affect your finances, your life, or your family can affect you this much without there being a pre-existing issue. Okay, I'll say that. The way people react to people online, not just on my platform, but on other platforms, the way they keep coming back or obsess over you or do panels that are 6, 7 hours long and talk, and you've never met this person, you've never shared oxygen with them. That is a form of mental illness. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been mad at some people that have done some things to me. But when you're talking about someone you've never met, never shared a word with, the way they obsessed on social media over people, I see them in comments of celebrities. I see them in the comment section of political commentary. I see them in, you know, Kevin Samuels comments, or, you know, now they're doing these fake reactions like, oh, I didn't bring food for all the kids in McDonald's. I just brought for this kid. That goes viral. And people are going at each other in the comments. I'm like, there's no way you can be this angry at someone you've never met. There's something there. There's something there. And I think that social media is a very, very dangerous escape. Gentlemen, please be patient with me because I need my ladies to speak first. Juana, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Can you hear
I'm
me?
pretty good. Good to see you.
So, that is a tragedy. What happened with the young man, and I know he committed a crime, you know, um, taking the life of his child's mother, but it's still a sad situation in my humble view. It makes me sad, you know, it really does. And I I know a little bit about depression. I know a little bit about suicide. Unlike OG Patrice, how you doing, OG Patrice, and everybody on the panel?
I'm good,
Karan,
Joanna. How are you?
I'm okay, Miss Lady, and Jabari, and I'm not sure who the other person is
That's
with the
big trouble.
family, but salute to you. So I remember my first instance of understanding someone taking their own lives. I was like 5 years old, and the woman was a 19-year-old woman who's associated with my mom and my mom's boyfriend. And to make a long story short, she committed suicide. And the one thing I just want to, and this is just my opinion, you know, Janet, we all agree with every lockstep thing you said or everyone else that had to say. It would be boring, right? This is not an echo chamber, as you always say. But I just have an issue with automatically labeling it as mental illness without clarifying. Because I'm old school. I'm a little older than you, Jen. And when I think of mental illness, I think of someone who needs to be in a straitjacket, who needs to be medicated, who needs to, you know, that type of person who's walking around talking to themselves. That's what I think of when I think of mental illness. But I dare to question if when we say they're mentally ill because they're considering suicide or have committed suicide, if there's just some form of misappropriated uh, behavioral patterns that we've adopted culturally or from trauma, from parents, lack of coping skills, when things get too heavy because of, like you said earlier, when we're lying to ourselves and it gets too heavy and we need a way to escape it. You know, we want to hide our face. We want to hide the shame. We want to hide the guilt of the lies that we've been living. And when people know that they're lying, I don't see that as a form of insanity. I see that as a form of a very distinct clarity that they are perceiving for them in that moment. It's not a overall general clarity because, you know, I can do something today and I'll be extremely embarrassed by it and I'll have extreme guilt by it. But 5 years from now, I may not be feeling the same intensity of the moment that I feel today. So I think there's a lot of shame going on. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of trauma going on. But I dare say that it's insanity. I dare say that it's a mental illness, unless it's the type of mental illness where you lose your mental faculties. If I lost everything today and I didn't feel like I could ever obtain it again, I don't see that as a mental break. I see that as me giving up. I see that as me feeling too afraid to accept the challenge. And that's not to demean anyone or any of those thoughts or feelings at all, because we've all experienced those feelings of, can I pick myself back up? And that's a testimony to be able to do that. But most people who are about to commit suicide, they have extreme clarity. Like the young man you talked about in the video, how you said he was laying out his clothes and he had the capacity to say, hey, come get my son, because I don't want to do this in front of my son. That's an extreme clarity that's going on that, to me, is not quite mental illness. That is, I am done, and people have a right to feel like they are done. And I give them that right. But I don't feel like they're crazy. I don't feel like there's a mental break. I feel like they have so much pressure and drama and trauma that, they feel that that's the solution. And I just want to say to anyone who's listening to the sound of my voice, beloveds, that's not the only solution. That's a temporary decision. It can be changed tomorrow or the years to come. You don't have to make that decision. Like Jen said, reach out to someone when things get too heavy. Thank you, Jen, for allowing me on. If you don't mind, I'll stick around.
Thank you, Joanna. That's an interesting take on it. I totally accept it, right? Interest. That's another side to it. Jabari, what say you, sir? Jabari, are you here? Are you there? Jabari's feeding his dog. Big Truck, what you got?
Okay. Good evening, Jen. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
All right. First thing I'll say really quickly, I absolutely agree with you on the John Leguizamo rundown, because I saw that story, and I think you're absolutely right. It's like, listen, if people, Black, Hispanic, whatever, if they want to get movies passed forward, they need to do exactly what does it, Key and Peele do? And they need to either fund movies or they need to seek funding from other people who've got that kind of money, and they need to push it forward, because now we're not locked into Hollywood. You probably noticed this movie, Predator 6. I saw that movie on the internet, And that was a Native American cast. It wasn't 100% Native American because they had some French people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie may be one of the higher grossing and one of the better received Predator films. And unfortunately, they didn't put it into the movie theater. So the thing about it is, what could have been the best grossing Native American video ever, which, you know, a sci-fi Native American video, didn't even get put into the theater. I actually hope they put it into the theater, but it's basically along the same lines of what you're talking about.
I saw it.
You saw it. What did you think? It was good, right?
I liked it. I did. It was different. I didn't know how they were gonna like work it out, because I was like, back in the day, Native, but I'm a fan of Predator, so he can be
that girl Mid Thunder, she's gonna be like in a lot of movies now.
Yes.
And this is like a vehicle to move her career forward, and the other Native Americans who are in the movie too. Okay, so on this thing about suicide, first of all, the way I believe it, people who are going to commit suicide, they don't talk about the fact they're going to commit suicide unless they're looking for attention. They either want attention or they want somebody to stop them. The real people who are going to commit suicide do it. They don't say anything about it. They just get it done. And just like the last person who was saying, these people, it's not like they're not necessarily crazy because they logically plan out what they're going to do and how they're going to accomplish it. These are not people who are just sitting around and they got voices in their head or they're seeing like monsters and shit when they close their eyes. That's not what this is. My thing is, when you live in this society right here, considering all of the problems that we have with anxiety and depression of various types, you actually have to be, I would say, you'd have to be somehow living above all that not to have suicidal thoughts. Because this is, as far as I'm concerned, this society is a ripe breeding ground for sociopaths, psychopaths, and depression of varying types. I mean, you think about the people who are going to bed right now knowing that they can't pay their student loans. Think about the people who are going to bed right now who put a photo up on Instagram and nobody's pushing the like button. Think about there's various reasons why. Like, everybody's different, but there's various reasons. And in this society right here specifically, having actually lived in other countries and seen how other people live and having been in low stress environments, I totally understand why people are suicidal. And to tell you the truth, I expect it to get worse considering the problems that are now surfacing, especially regarding social media. A lot of parents put their kids on social media as a babysitter, and they don't understand what they're doing to these kids. I'm fortunate enough to have been born in the 80s. And when we grew up, we didn't have this stuff. So this way, when we saw it and when we started adapting to it, it didn't take us over. We kept it at bay. Like a cell phone and texting and stuff like that can't control me because I understood it before it even happened. I'm starting to think whether first of all, as far as I'm concerned, the people who are actually suicidal, they're suicidal just because they're suicidal. And they're going to commit suicide regardless. But there could be things that maybe trigger it, like, for instance, being on social media. Like, there was they started tightening up the laws against bullying when there was this kid, Tyler Clemente. He was like he was a upper middle class white homosexual, and he was outed by some friends who videotaped him having sex with another guy, and then he killed himself. His name was Tyler Clemente, right? Ever since then, outing somebody is now considered bullying, and they try to make it a felony because, of course, when the right people die, that's when all of a sudden they pass laws against it, right? So when the upper class or the more important people, the pianists, so all I'm saying is really, I personally believe that we're in a society right now that is breeding this. This is not a happy society at all. And I'll say the last thing I'm going to say before I pass the mic. Are you familiar with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief?
No.
Well, okay. Real quickly, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she was a psychiatrist, and she came up with this idea of the stages of grief. and it was really supposed to be applied to people who are actually dying. However, it could be applied right now to most of these people who you're talking about who have mental illness. The first stage of grief is shock, and then after that, it's denial because you're denying what's happening. After that, it turns to anger, and then you start to bargain because you're trying to seek for a way out. Then that bargaining turns to depression, and then you may test for realistic solutions, and then you accept it. Acceptance is the phase that the suicidal don't make it to because they never get to acceptance. They get lost in depression, which is basically rage turned inwards. So if you've never heard of the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross model, you might want to look it up. Most of these dudes in the manosphere are stuck between the anger, bargaining, and depression phase. So if you learn a little bit about this model, you probably agree with me. So I'll pass the mic now to the next person.
Thank you. Now I'm definitely going to study that so I know what I'm dealing with, because this is a whole different animal. You have to know what you're dealing with. I don't think you should take it lightly. I also want to say this really quickly. Mental illness is not just using feces as night cream. I want to say that, okay? Because I don't want people to think that they don't have anything wrong with them just because they're not talking to the wall. So there are different phases of mental illness. I don't think everybody has depressed, suffered some sort of, insanity. There's different phases. Also, a lot of people try committing suicide and then they stop and then they finally do it. So some people, maybe it's cry for help, maybe attention, but there have been people who tried it and actually succeeded. So be careful anyway when someone tells you, I don't want to be here anymore, right? Always take it seriously. Jabari, welcome back. You ready for me?
Yeah, I am. Sorry about that.
No worries. Someone's breathing on their microphone.
Haran.
Haran, that was you?
I'm sorry, I'm falling asleep.
You next, Haran. Don't fall asleep. Wrap yourself.
I'll try to be brief because I can't stay long.
Yes.
A couple of quick things, a couple of quick disagreements. I'm going to say something very unpopular.
That's what we do here.
Yeah. Suicide is extremely selfish. And I say that it is.
Ouch, Jabari.
It is.
Let me put up the hotline again. Lord Almighty.
No, and I'm going to be. This is what, honestly, in our society, we live in the safest, most privileged, healthiest people that live in the West. People live in the United States. We have to understand, in the history of the world, people have never eaten as well as we eat. People have never had the medicine available to them. People have never had the opportunities that we've had. And yet we have the highest suicide rates that we've had throughout history. The rate of people killing themselves is higher than it's ever been, higher than slavery, higher than the Nader period, higher than the bubonic plague. People are killing themselves now. And and let me preface this. Let me go ahead and put it out there. I've had, and I didn't even know if I was going to bring this up, because I generally speaking don't talk about suicide. My nephew killed himself. And when I say my nephew, I don't mean someone distant. I mean my brother's son. He killed himself in the bathroom, in the house, with his girlfriend and his baby. Knocking on the door. Baby's crying. Suicide is selfish. And it's selfish because you can't see beyond your right now. You can't see the effect it has on the people you leave behind. You take this, I think OG Patrice said it. I think it was her that said it. You take you make this permanent response to a temporary problem. And you do so for you at the expense of everyone you leave behind. And what you're going through in that moment, as hard as it is for people to hear, they need to hear that it can pass. instead of making it okay, we need to tell people, we need that tough love again. We need to tell people, push through. We need to tell people there are people that you'll leave behind that you care about, not that just that you say you care about, but there are people that you genuinely care about that you are going to destroy with this action. There's no getting around that. And another thing that someone else said was that people don't, it just comes out of the blue. And I found the statistic from Harvard and another one from Johns Hopkins. Over 80% of people who commit suicide have either told someone or attempted suicide before. More than 3/4 of people. So there's almost always some indicator. And it's at that point that you have to, as people that are loved by that person and love that person, it's at that point you have to say, we're going to push through this together, because you don't want to do this to me and to your daughter. His daughter was 2 years old. She doesn't remember her dad. So he's a person who would have never hurt his daughter or allowed someone to. You understand what I'm saying? But in that temporary moment, he hurt her more than anyone ever will, than anyone in her life will. And we have to tell people, we have to get to the point where we're honest with people and we say, it's not okay. If there's someone you leave behind that you're going to hurt, if there's someone that you're leaving behind that you love, push through. Because if you love that person, like you say, it's worth it to push through this temporary thing you're going through. Another thing, I'm a statistics person. Social media and depression. Jen, Haran, you guys know I do marketing. The Chinese, by the way, who own TikTok, created TikTok, which is the most popular social media site now, by the way. They limit the use of TikTok to Chinese individuals, to their kids. Also, Chinese TikTok is completely different than a TikTok we have. You don't have the booty shaking and all of that foolishness. They have educational games. Their social networks are education related, societally related, and they still limit it. There is a direct correlation between the amount of social media that you watch and your depression. Students, this is according to the data of Meta. This is according to Facebook's own data. The amount of time you spend on social media increases your loneliness and your depression rates increase at a direct correlation to the amount of time you spend on social media. This is according to Meta. This was, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Westworld. They've been keeping, since MySpace, all of that MySpace data. We forget that Facebook bought MySpace. All of this data on us that we've been putting out there for the last 20 years, they've processed this. They've done research on this so that they can know how to sell you things on a psychographic level, on a subconscious level. They understand how to sell you things on a subconscious level. That means understanding how to manipulate a person's emotions. The best way to get someone to buy something they don't need is to make them commit an emotional purchase. Everybody on the panel can attest to that. You've seen something and you had an emotional response to it that was against the logical reasons to not purchase it, but you bought it anyway because of the emotional response. What Meta and companies like them have done over the last 20 years is figure out ways to amplify that, and now to manipulate that, to manipulate your depression, to manipulate your anxiety. And the only way to combat that, the only way, according to their own internal data, is to unplug. That's their only way. And it's like crack. I think you said the dopamine hit. The only way is to ease off. For some people, if you're on social media 6 hours a day, you need to cut it down to 4 And once you're on for 4, you need to cut it down again. If your life revolves around this medium, you're going to be depressed because that's what it's designed for. And I'll yield and listen to everybody else on the panel.
Okay, so
Jen.
really quickly before, hold on, but I just want to say that I disagree with that. I don't think suicide is a selfish act. There are many people who said, I'm going to end my life because I feel like other people will be better off without the burden of me in their life. So I just don't want it. We need this right now for that, because there's so many, different reasons why. And Jabari, I got to say, you just said that we're the most selfish and spoiled and blah, blah, and I'm paraphrasing. But then, so the reason why we're so sick in this country and stuck on machines is because it's designed to pull us in. We're in China. They're, as some may say, it's a dictatorship, but they're protecting their population. But here we're not protected. They're constantly feeding us this social media. So how can you say we're selfish and in the same vein show the system that's making us sick on these machines? I just wanted to say that. Patrice, I know you wanted to respond to Jabari, but Haran, are you still with us? You want to go next, or you falling asleep, or what?
Yeah, I wanted to respond because I definitely give some pushback on what Jabari is saying. I don't agree with that either. That people that commit suicide is necessarily committing a selfish act. We must be real about what being mentally ill is. There is so much more to mental illness than just somebody being selfish, taking a life because they're not thinking about anyone else. Their mental illness has a lot to do with an imbalance in the brain. Let's be real when it comes to depression, bipolar, schizophrenic, and all these other illnesses that can cause and lead up to people committing suicide. The brain gets sick. It's a muscle. It gets sick like anything else in your body. And there's chemical imbalances from neurotransmitters in the brain that is not balanced, your norepinephrines, your serotonins, your neurotransmitters, your dopamine. All of those things contribute to mental illnesses like depression and bipolar. So to say that everybody that commits suicide is a that's absolutely not factual, Jabari, because the brain is a muscle like anything else that can get sick on your body, like any other organ or anything of that nature. And if you had seen anything online or Google the brain of someone that suffers with depression or bipolar or schizophrenic basis of a normal human being, it is totally different. So I just wanted to say that because I don't want people to have this connotation of thinking that suicide is just a self act. Most of the people that have committed suicide are in suicide because they're tired of being in the pain that they're living in their minds. So many people that have wrote suicide letters saying that they're tired of living with the pain. So it's deeper than that. And I digress. That's all I wanted to say.
Before I throw it to Tony, I don't know if you
I'd like to respond.
Yeah. Can I come in?
No, 1 second. Haran, do you want to comment?
Oh yeah. I don't think honestly that social media is to blame.
What?
No, I don't.
You don't think
But
it
I
affects
think
you at all?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said that I don't think it's to blame. I think the issue here is that the perception of the situation makes people believe that it's actually to blame. What's happening is that with social media, excuse me, you're essentially experiencing the human condition at an expedited rate, which is narcissism, sociopathy, depression, all these things. All these things are coming at you at a profound speed prior to or before social media. You know what I mean? Before social media, you didn't know the guy next to you, you know what I mean, had any kind of weird kink or did any kind of weird shit or things like that. But thanks to social media, now you do. Now, if someone actually has something wrong with them, you know what I mean, and prior to social media, it probably would be dormant. It probably would pop up. It probably would be something they would that they were dealing with. But with the advent of social media, those insecurities, you know what I mean, they're being exposed to a number of things that are hitting their triggers at, you know what I mean, at an enormous rate. So if you have self-esteem issues and so on and so forth, you get on social media, after a while, you ended up with body dysmorphia. Does this make sense? Now, the thing about it is that prior to all this, you know, I mean, people were still having issues, you know, I mean, with their self-esteem. I mean, you know, if I am correct, Black women and Latino women were struggling with many of the European beauty standards that were put on magazines that they saw. That affected their self-esteem. This is before social media. You know what I mean? In high school is a place where you actually, you know, where you actually learn about, you know, when people actually show out and you learn about social oppression, politics, and a number of these things that we actually learn and deal with on a micro level. So yeah, you know, I understand that it's easy to say that, you know, I mean, it's because of social media that we are where we are, but we would have got here anyway. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If not for social media. And also human beings just have a very, very sick obsession with utopias. We're never satisfied. We're never satisfied. There's always something about us that we want to change. We always perceive someone else to have something more than we have, so on and so forth, or whatever. So, you know, at the end of the day, I say all this to say that each person has to really understand something. You know, you can front for everybody else, but you can't front for, you know what I mean, yourself. You have to really, again, like I always say, you have to do the internal work, or else it spills into a situation that goes out of control, and you end up with depression, and end up with all kinds of situations because you didn't deal with your own issues.
So I wanna say this. First of all, can my likes match the people viewing? If you're here, you like what you see, so give me a like. And if you don't like what you're seeing, you shouldn't be here. So if you like what you're seeing, let the like match that you like listening to this panel. Also, I'm gonna give you a little pushback, Haran, because I think social media is playing a huge part, because yeah, we had the European standards and the white women on magazine covers, but there's magazines were not designed by scientists, right? Like the way social media is, to keep you in, to give you the dopamine hit, to keep you addicted. Like, yeah, did we feel bad if there was a blonde, blue-eyed chick on a cover? Like, oh my God, is that like what I'm supposed to look like? But social media is a whole different animal. I've never heard 5 and 6 year olds saying, I'm not pretty enough, I don't look in the abundance like when I judge that pageant. That's new. You didn't hear that like that back in the days when we just had to worry about models on the cover that we were supposed to look like. I think this is a whole different animal. I think scientifically it is designed to keep us addicted. We've never had magazines like this in our hand, constantly telling us what we should look like and do.
No, but Jen, we absolutely did. The magazines, all of the magazines have been designed by scientists and psychologists.
Exactly.
Right, but
they have.
I know, but my point, I know that it's all marketing. But my point is, I used to buy magazines, Cosmo, all of that. My mom had them. I've never woken up out of my slumber and looked in a Cosmo to see what was being said and what people were feeling and what people are doing. I've never looked at a Cosmo throughout my day on my lunch break or the cigarette break or lunch. I've never looked at a Cosmo last thing at night before I went back to bed. This is a whole different animal.
I'm sorry, real quick question. Think back to all of the girls who turned anorexic or bulimic based on just the Barbie doll, not even the magazine. But then they went to the magazines, and the magazines did this long before social media in 2000. Because you got to remember, social media has only really been around on the internet. Well, you could count MySpace, but the thing about it is, if you're going to talk about the smartphone bombardment, that's only really been around since like 2006, 2007. But these girls have been doing this to themselves for the last like 40 years. More than that. In fact, more than that. They wanted to look like Marilyn Monroe long before we even had computers. and some girls were having mental and eating disorders. Some girls thought they were Marilyn Monroe. They were literally losing their minds. And then when you fast forward, anorexia, bulimia from the magazines, Barbie dolls getting women to want to have impossible shapes, which is why they started redesigning the Barbie dolls. I would say like this: social media has probably affected women more than it has affected men over time. And I would say the suicide rate is probably separate from social media, even though you can compare your use of social media to your likelihood of depression and suicide. This has been happening long before we had computers.
Hold on 1 second. I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. Women, long as men have walked the earth, have felt insecure.
Of course.
Way back in Egypt, they needed to do that makeup. Way back. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying now is it is so common. Back in the day, anorexia and bulimia, that wasn't something that happened in the South Bronx. That was something that happened to the white girls or the girls that, lived in the suburbs. But now it is across the board everywhere. Everybody's being touched with this now. Everybody from all walks of life and tax brackets is now being touched by social media pressure. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that. Please let me go back to this. The dangers of hiding mental illness with social media. I am not saying that social media leads to suicide. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying the dangers of hiding your mental illness with social media. I'm not saying that social media leads to suicide. I'm saying that it hurts mental illness, because whatever you're feeling already, in my opinion, it's just heightened when you're on social media all day. So women have been insecure since the beginning of time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Here's a question, Jen, real quick. Did you see the question that I asked you when you first came on? And I asked you, wait a minute, are people hiding with social media, or are people pronouncing out loud with social media?
I would say hiding.
Oh, I would say that they're letting you know. I would say they're letting you know it.
So, Jen, let me ask you something. We can both agree that whatever's going on with that person, social media is speeding up the process of whatever's going on in that person. That is the point that I'm making here.
That is what I feel. Yes.
Now, here's the thing. I understand that. However, that does not negate the fact that that thing is still there. And how is that addressed? That still needs to be addressed. Now, if you address that and you have those kinds of discussions, you don't necessarily have to worry about social media, because these things won't affect you in the same way. These things won't, won't hit you in the same manner. Like, look, I've been working in computers way before social media was even a thing. Okay, I saw this whole thing really come from the ground up. And yes, I can admit, yes, I saw some things that were really, really outlandish. However, a number of things didn't affect me because, number one, I personally knew, how the sausage was made. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I have a very strong sense of self. So I'm not going to allow anybody's, life or whatever and so on and so forth to influence me and where I'm going. But that is me.
Yeah, the majority of people have serious doubts and insecurities. Mr.
Jen,
T,
may I reply? I'm sorry.
Jabari, I know a couple people responded to you, so I know you really have something to say, but
go ahead.
Mr. T specifically came up here for a rebut. What do you got to say? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Are you muted?
He's
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, wait. Go ahead. I'm going to have to drop.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, no worries. Yeah. But basically, quite a bit to say on this. I was with a guy yesterday.
Because you're a little long-winded. So try to be concise.
I will do. I tell you what, there's an echo on my phone. So let me
Hold
call
on.
back. Yeah, no, we get into
I think I have to remove it. Talk now. Can you? Yeah, I don't.
He said he'll be right back.
Okay, so Jabari, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, you know, I'm a statistics guy. I'm a numbers guy. So I pulled up numbers. What we're talking about, what we refuse to acknowledge, is suicide is primarily a white male issue. 69% of suicides in this country are by white men. In 2001, the rate was 72%. 72%. Most of the people committing suicide or even attempting suicide are white men. What we have, and ironically, the lowest suicide rates are black women. Black women have the lowest suicide rate, and black men are second from the bottom.
Did you look up teenage black girls? Just
This
curious.
is the race. This is by race.
No,
Once you
teenage
break it
black
down,
girls, you said women.
black females.
Okay, because someone else sent me an article about a suicide rate on the rise with teenage black girls.
And once again, that's the article you always get. This is on the rise. This is up this percent. If you are at 1 and 2 do something, it's 100% increase. But it's 2, it could be 2 out of 10,000. But you can write an article to make it sound like something is catastrophic. I believe a lot of what's going on, our pharmaceutical industries they're in the business of mental health at this point. Mental health is big business. With the exception of stay hard drugs, mental health drugs are their next biggest industry. They profit from telling you that you're not okay. They profit from it. And historically, Marcos is saying this isn't about race, but it is. Historically, you have one group committing 69%, 7 out of 10 suicides, one group. Move the needle 20 years, and it's 69% instead of 72%. But they want everyone to believe that we're all mentally ill. If you look at the Ritalin, the what they prescribe Ritalin for, I guarantee you, if you read through the list, you'll find two or three things that apply to you, because they make it vague enough to apply to anyone. That's the way it's done, and it's done that way for a reason, and the reason is to make more money. The same way social media has capitalized off of this. I don't know if you guys remember when Facebook went public, the big question was, the $1 million question was, how will it monetize? How will you make money off of this? You're selling the stock for all of this money. How will you make money? Facebook knew already, with the data that they got from MySpace and the data that they had acquired, that they had your data, and they had figured out a way in their algorithm to manipulate emotion. It's 2 emotions that are the easiest to manipulate: fear and anger. Fear and anger. The irony is both of those things lead to anxiety. Anxiety leads to mental illness, to what we would call the acting out mental illness. And I can drop all of the year to year, the breaking it down by age. The problem is the suicide.org doesn't break down. I haven't found the breakdown of teenagers by race, but they have year by year statistics on suicide rates, who's committing suicides, how they're committing suicides. Certain aspects have remained consistent. The consistencies are white men are overwhelmingly the group committing suicide. The ways that people commit suicide have remained relatively consistent. That people attempt suicide or talk about suicide, there's a cry for help. That's remained consistent. There's so many aspects of this that are consistent, and when we look at the things that aren't consistent, we have to look at the why. And I think you're that's why the first thing I said when I came on was an agreement that social media is a means of spiking the number, or even though the rates as a proportion of total suicides aren't increasing that much for Blacks and Latinos, to be perfectly honest. And I'm going to drop suicide.org statistics in so everybody can see what I'm talking about. You can delineate the information for yourself. But where people commit suicides, the nations, which countries commit suicide, those things are consistent. Those things are consistent. And what's not consistent, what has changed, one of the few things that's changed, because as I said, we live better than people ever have. Ever have. A poor person today lives better than a king 200 years ago. That's just the fact. Why is it that people still feel the need to take their lives? Why do we feel like I can't take it anymore? And you look at what's pushing people to that end, and social media and media in general. Social media and media in general are pushing people to that end. Am I saying that if your race is low in the suicide rate, you're not likely to commit suicide? I'm saying you're not as likely to commit suicide. If you are, Marco, if you are, let's say 13% of the population, and you are committing 4% of the suicides, your race has a lower chance of committing suicide. White men are not 69% of this country. You guys understand what I'm saying? They're not 69%.
You're saying, but it sounds to me, respectfully, first of all, you're biased. You think that suicide is selfish, so you don't even believe like it's like, oh, it's just, so you're biased. Secondly,
that's not a bias,
because I see statistics that suicide is on the rise for Blacks and Latins. And I believe that because at my age now, I've heard numerous people commit suicide and they were not white. Now, the majority of people who commit suicide are white. The majority of people who do prescription drugs and kill themselves are white. We get it. They're the majority of the country, are they not?
But it's disproportionate.
So they're always going to be the majority. But I'm telling you, wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
But I'm telling you that growing up, the things that were happening back then are not happening the way they are now. That whole Xanax and codeine, and we didn't do that. We, meaning Blacks and Latins, it was unheard of. Now, all of a sudden, our kids are growing up in this generation, and they are on prescription meds. That wasn't happening when we were kids. Everybody was smoking weed or trying cocaine or drinking 40s. Now our kids are like, I'm like, what the fuck do you know about Xanax? You're a girl in the South Bronx sitting on a stoop. Where the fuck did you even codeine, like Paxil? What I'm saying is that I'm not about to sit here. It's like you say why we're fucked up, but then you say, but we're not fucked up. We're the best we've ever been. But you know, they're fucking with our brains, and this is the worst we've ever been. But then you're like, but we're the best we've ever been. So is it getting worse, or according to you, it's never ever changed, and it's just white people killing each other? But the statistics I saw, Black and Latin suicide rates are rising, and I believe it because I've heard from friends and close family members that people are committing suicide. It's not just the white guy downtown anymore that you used to work with in corporate America. Now it's your cousin, your nephew, your friend's best friend. So it is more common now. I don't care what statistic you saw that it's mostly white men. They don't even care when I'm talking about. I'm talking about I was a pageant, and there were Black and Latin girls talking about they are depressed and fucked up because of social media and this and that and the third. That wasn't happening back when we were growing up. That wasn't happening back in teen. Even when we felt insecure, like, oh, my titties didn't grow yet, or my ass didn't grow yet. What the girls are going through now, I see why the suicide rate is going up. And saying, well, white people kill each other more than we do doesn't help us. I don't care what they do, to be honest. They're the majority of the country. Of course, what they do is going to be more than us all the time. But this shit is new. This is new. I don't care what you say, Jabari. I don't care what statistic you read. This is new in our communities, and it is getting worse for us. I don't believe that the poorest person today lives better than a king back then.
I agree with you 100%, Jen. I agree 100%.
You think those people are living like kings?
I agree with you, Jen.
I'm confused by your points because you don't stick to one point. It's like, first we're all fucked up and this is why, and they're getting in our heads and marketing, but and then you're like, but we're still good because it's just 69% of white people that are killing each other. That doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical. Are we fucked up or are we not? Or is it just white people killing each other? I mean, killing
Can I
themselves.
get in, Jen?
Yeah, go ahead, Joanna.
I just want to say I agree with you, and I hope this doesn't read the wrong way, because sometimes I do bring the smoke, but because of the topic, I'm not trying to bring smoke to anyone on the panel. But I just want to say, hey, can we respect the panel? Can we keep our comments, our opinions, or any helpful information to at least 2 to 3 minutes? Let other people be heard. We're not spending time on the panel just to hear one person pontificate. So with that said, I'll take my response off, and I would love to hear more comments from everyone on the panel. And please, can we just keep it to a couple of minutes and let everybody get off their shit?
I
Thanks.
need the timer again, Joanna. I agree. And also, Jabari, like, stay on the panel. Like, the people in the chat, you can't talk to us and then talk to them at the same time, because then you're taking time away from the panel. That is true. I do agree.
And Jen, I agree with you there. It's like, I don't like bringing in the statistics for other races either. I consider that deflecting.
Yeah, I'm not with the, well, of course, white people. I mean, 10 years ago, white people were the only ones on Xanax. Now I run into my Puerto Rican cousin. It's like, oh, I got a new prescription of Xanax. I'm like, Xanax? Since when the fuck do we do prescription meds? Like, when did that happen? So
it happened when we started prescribing our.
It's spreading.
Why? We go back to the why. When I say, will you live better than a king 300 years ago, I say that because the standard of living has increased in terms of medicine, in terms of sewage, in terms of life expectancy, in terms of leisure. So we do have a higher standard of living, even our poor, than rich people did 300 or 400 years ago, just through the advancements. My point is, things should not be as bad as they are. And the reason why, I don't want to dominate the panel, but I have an opinion that is counter to most of the people on the panel. So when I respond, I'm responding to the different things that were said. So I'll try to keep it even briefer. However, it doesn't change the fact, if you ask the why are you seeing this more? The reason why you see it more is because whenever a kid in school, whenever a little black boy or a little black or brown kid doesn't sit down, what's the first thing they tell them when they're in school? Your kid needs to be on Ritalin. See, when we were young, Jen, because you're my age, when we were young, our parents pushed back against that. Our parents said, my boy is just a boy. And they pushed back. And our parents didn't allow us to go on these pharmaceuticals, these psychographic, I forgot the word, psychotonic drugs that they're putting kids on today. So you put these kids on drugs that alter their mental wavelengths, and then you add that to social media. When it comes to, again, when I cite the suicide rates, it's not deflection to cite a statistic. It's not deflection to cite a statistic. I use this to say they're pushing a narrative, and it's a circular argument that they're using to get us more addicted to their antidepressants, to get us more addicted to their drugs that cause, to have a side effect list that is longer than what they're supposed to be helping. And they have to give you a drug to offset the drug for the thing that you're dealing with, which is something that we were able to deal with before. A lot of the same things that they're putting our kids on drugs for now are the same things that we had to go through when we were young, that we just went through. But today they're putting the kids on drugs, and you're coupling the drugs with social media. You're coupling that with a very sophisticated marketing system.
Okay, hence it is.
Oh my gosh, that was long.
Hence, it is worse now. Hence, it's worse now because you just said they're coupling social media with these drugs. And I have to disagree with you. When I was young, my mom was never offered, 4 siblings. My mom was never offered, hey, do you want your kids on some ADHD medicine? Or that was unheard of. We got our immunizations, we got our checkups, and we went home. Now, when you take your child to a doctor, they want to know, are you having gender reassignment issues? Are you depressed? And these kids are as young as 5, 6, and 7. That was unheard of back in the day when I was growing up. So it is worse now. And saying that we live better now because we have running water is like a duh. No kidding. We have running water now. The kings back then didn't. But that was unheard of back in the day. There was no Xanax, no Paxil, no disorder medicine. That's happening now. These kids are growing up on drugs, prescribed drugs now. That wasn't happening back then. So you couple that with social media, and it is getting worse. Our suicide rates are growing. And I don't want anyone watching this, because let's face it, my audience is mostly Black and Latin, sprinkled with a couple white. I don't want people watching this to take it lightly that our suicide rates are rising. That I don't want them to think, oh, that's a white thing. Because that's what we used to do. Remember that white thing?
Facts.
Yeah. It's in our communities. That white thing, it's us now. And that's why I say it's getting worse. So I think it's irresponsible to say, well, don't worry about it. It's only 69% of white people, and you're not white, so you're good. That's a dangerous.
Well, Jen,
that's not what I said.
Well, Jen, also,
it doesn't matter. There are no white people here.
What I'm telling you is,
Jen, may I speak?
Yes.
Jabari, can other people please speak? I understand you have your points to get off, and we all understand you have very intelligent points of view. But yours is not the only on the panel. Please, brother, let other people speak.
Go ahead, Joanna.
Go ahead.
Hit some likes.
I just wanted to say, even within the last 2 years with the whole pandemic, guy, if you looked at the stats, since you're a number person, Jabari, the number of suicide rates has went up, and it has went up tremendously in the Black and brown community just in the last 2 years since the pandemic. Imagine losing all of these loved ones, and then you're being quarantined for 2 years, not being able to socialize. Listen, that's traumatic in and of itself. And it has made even what you call your normal people even are now on antidepressants and things like that, as where they never were before. Because when you are quarantined and not allowed to socialize with other humans for so long, and then you watching your loved ones pass left and right, like what has happened to us, that it has grown just in the last 2 years. So to say some of the things you're saying, I'm giving the pushback is because it is real and it is true. The number, and we all know your numbers, guy, but we all know numbers can be skewed as well. They can. These are factual evidence of things that is literally where the numbers are growing in Black and brown communities for suicide. Jen is right. It used to be a time when I know, especially for the Black neighborhoods, Black people don't kill themselves. We don't do that. That used to be a thing in our communities. And it's not anymore because it's real, and it was also swept under the rug in our communities when we did notice that someone in our families was a little not right. They were a little sick. They were a little off. But we swept things under the rug for as long as we could. Oh, just lock Uncle so-and-so in a room and put him in there by himself. When we knew something was wrong with Uncle John.
Those things you said, that's some white people shit. We've said it our whole lives. That's some white people shit. Now it's in our homes.
Facts.
So
and let's be real also. Mental illness is also hereditary, people. It is hereditary as well. Don't think it's just one-offs that happen. It actually can be hereditary, passed down from one family member to another. Sometimes it skips generations. But that's a real thing.
Tony, you never got to speak, I don't think.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's a few things, yeah. Basically, I'll get to the point on this one. Just yesterday, I was with a neurological scientist in London. He works for UCL, University of London. And we're talking, we're good friends from childhood. We're talking about just this thing. And it's a shame he's not here because he'd make a great contribution. But the bottom line is, going back to what the woman previously said, you know, a lot of it is to do with, you know, it's like a muscle. The brain is a muscle. And she said it just right. I don't know if she works in that field of neurological science, but that's pinpoint. It's true. The brain's like a muscle, and like any other part of the muscle. When there's an injury, then there's a problem, and the brain becomes infected, as it were. But anyway, back to the point about suicide and you know, people being selfish. Yeah, I'm going to debunk that right now. More time or not, and this is what we was talking about because it affected him, you know, with his work. And I'm going to debunk that right now. When people opt, shall I say, to commit suicide, yeah, more time or not, that is not them. Okay, that is not their character or being. What that is, you know, the subconscious being inside them. It goes deep, yeah, but it's not a conscious thing they plan to do more time or not. Okay, it's not them. They're in a state of mind which is alien to them. It's like, say you do some things. There's some things I don't want to go too deep, but you know, there's things you've done and you look back and said, how have I done that? Why have I done that? Yeah. And you know, that again is the being inside of you. And it goes deep. You know, I'm not going to go too deep on that. Okay. So when you say people are being selfish, they're not being selfish because that's not them. The selfishness, you know, of that person is the personality and character of that person. However, when they're speaking of doing that, that is not them, which is a consequence of depression or something else which has affected them and put them in that situation. So you can't say, oh, they're selfish because they don't know what they're doing. It's not them. Okay, that's a key point. I'm just going to skirt through. Got a few points on my screen because I want it to be very quick. Yeah, people live better now than before. I'm going to debunk that. Okay, because living better is subject to relativity. It's relative, isn't it? I mean, I can argue times were better back in the day growing up than they are now. Because in London, for example, there's plenty of stabbings. Back in the day, there were none. You know, one guy said to me back in the day, around here, we had people to look up to, people like yourself, your friend T, a few other people. That's not around no more. So, in a sense, what you're saying is people can have more social mobility and more, you know, buy better commodities and have access to those commodities. But the reality is, when you talk of quality of life, which is what we're talking about, yeah, I could argue there's a better quality of life in Africa or in the West Indies as opposed to America or UK or London for some people. So you can't just say because things are progressive and we're having a better quality of life now. Sorry, better access to better things now. That means you have a better quality of life because that in itself is relative. I know PhDs from the States who've gone to live in Cape Verde, you know, get a little shack near the beach and they're living good. You know, people here always talk about.
Let me jump in right here because I want to address the point that you made.
Sure.
I think it's good. I love the point about it being relative because what do we all say? Everything was better back in the day. We all say that. The music was better. The music was better. The food was better. The environment was better. Right? We all say it. So it is relative. You're absolutely right. Because now we look around our environment. We're like, what the fuck happened to people? What happened to kids? What happened to love? What happened to understand? What happened to friendship? And also, I like the other point you made about how suicide, that's not that person's mindset all the time. And you're right. We see that happen. You know, if you watch Snapped, these women kill their husband. It's like, oh my God, I snapped. People snap and then they put them in a cell and then they come down from that. It's just that suicide, unfortunately, is permanent. It's a permanent solution to a temporary emotion. So I agree with you on those 2 points. The relativity of it, and also it's not you. Otherwise, you'd kill yourself at birth, right? If you were meant to kill yourself, you'd do it at birth. But you have to be going through something. Also, Aaron Hernandez, football player.
Yes, good example.
When they examined his brain, he has one of the worst cases of CTE they've ever seen in the league. Correct. So you're absolutely right. Jabari's Jabari, these are the statistics that I saw as well. You copy and pasted the exact statistics that I read. It says the second highest, he's talking about the white people, whatever. The second highest rate in 2020 was among American, Indian, blah, blah. And then from 2019, suicide rates increased slightly for Blacks, blah, blah. I'd like to see those suicide rates in 2022. But 2019 is cool too. But I'd like to see them in 2022 because I believe it's increasing.
Yeah.
Just because of stories I hear. Who wants to big truck? You haven't said anything in a minute.
Well, I was letting you talk because it kind of felt to me like I don't know if we were straying away from the topic question about people hiding mental illness with social media.
Bring it back.
I personally believe at this point that most people who may have mental illness are literally showing it to you. I think the problem is that we don't notice because either we don't care or we're not looking for it. That's what I really think. I actually have known people who've committed suicide, and the signs were there. You know, these people. You know, some people going through divorce. One person was physically ill, and then they had issues with their family and this, that, and other. The thing about it is, I had so much to do in my daily schedule, and I had so many other things to worry about until I wasn't paying any attention to them whatsoever. And they just went and killed themselves one day. And again, I didn't lose any real sleep over it. It was just one of those things that was off to the side. Now, I think that's different for people when it happens with your family or somebody close, which I can appreciate that. I can understand that. But this thing about social media, most people are literally on social media telling you exactly how they think and feel. The thing about it is most people are ignoring it because for instance, if somebody is saying something that you don't like for instance, if they're a Trump supporter and you don't like that, what's the first thing you do? You usually just block them or you usually cut them off. And I'm not saying that Trump supporters are mentally ill. I'm just saying that if they're saying anything you don't care to hear, you hear how some of these people are like, oh, well, I don't need that negativity on my news feed or some shit. The first thing you do is you block them. So my thing is, the person's telegraphing that there's something they're depressed about or anxious about. All you're doing is ignoring it. So my thing is, most people don't give a shit, and I think most people aren't willing to say that. But you know what's funny? Just like I believe it's Javari who just said, I've typed that I felt that certain people were selfish when they've committed suicide. I think Anthony Bourdain comes to mind. What was that guy? The comedian Robin Williams. He comes to mind. And it was funny because when I look at those people, I can recognize just by looking at them that there was something wrong. But the thing about it is those people are so far away from me and so disconnected from me, there was nothing I was going to do about it anyway. So whatever they were going to do, they were just going to do it. My thing is, the first thing you see people saying is, oh, yeah, well, you're just selfish and you're a coward. You took a coward's way out. But these people were telegraphing the entire time. All you had to do was look at them. All you had to do was listen to what they were saying and how they're saying it. They were telegraphing it the whole time. You just didn't give a shit. And you didn't want to hear it. Or you didn't want it in your feed. So that's my thing. A lot of people right now, what do they call it? They call it suffering in silence. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, the reason why they suffer in silence is because nobody gives a shit. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it. Like, when you really think about it, how many people around you do you really have deep conversation with, like with the, how are you feeling? What good has happened to you this week? How, you're not talking to people like that. When you see these people, they post on social media, they're wearing certain clothes or they're doing certain things. You may see a certain trend develop. Like maybe they're buying guns. Maybe they're engaging in high-risk activity. Maybe they're taking photos of themselves that they normally wouldn't be taking or something. And they're showing parts of themselves they normally wouldn't show. Maybe they're saying things in a certain way, overly aggressively. I hate these fucking Republicans. Fuck them all. I want to see them die. They're doing it. They're telegraphing it. You don't give a fuck. And most people aren't going to say that, but you just don't care. Not until they do something. At that point, that's when all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I thought I knew him. I can't believe he did this. How could I not see the signs? No, you.
Jen, can I jump in?
That's another great point and another side to it. Big Truck. That is true, because I know I just block people. And then like the subway shooter in Brooklyn recently, He had a YouTube page that was kind of like, you know what I mean, all over the place. And then, you know, people, the FBI looks at it and it's like,
Thank
oh,
you.
see, here are the signs.
He posted a manifesto that
I have
nobody
red
read.
flagged people. For the record, I have red flagged people, and I will do it again. If you're talking crazy on here, I will, and I'm proud of it. I will do it again. I don't care. Call me what you want. But I have red flagged people that were, I thought, off the rocker or a threat to society. So I have been paying attention, especially because the manosphere has gotten so vitriolic. And then after their cyber daddy died, they went next level. So you do make a great point.
And Jen, I'm sorry, not to cut you off,
Jen,
but
can I jump
really,
in?
one second, Jen, not to cut you off, but I really want you to look into Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief and relate that to these dudes in the manosphere. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
That will help. Go ahead, Joanna.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I just want to connect with Mr. Big Truck, what he was saying. I said something similar in the chat about an hour ago about people really don't care about what other people are feeling, and this feeds into their insecurity about themselves, which is from a lack of self-love. But to piggyback on what Mr. Big Truck was saying, and what I'm trying to convey is that's why I don't always connect it with mental illness. I feel like depression, and I say feel, not I know or I think, but I feel that mental illness or depression rather is basically or primarily hinged upon extreme anger towards oneself or extreme sadness towards oneself. Not necessarily that something is mentally ill, although I do agree with OG Patrice that that certain things can cause an imbalance in the bodily physics or in the brain mechanism that's lacking there, that they're not getting enough of, maybe enough serotonin, maybe enough of the things that cause you to feel good about yourself, which also goes back to my point of view about a lack of self-love. I definitely agree that people have a need to feel validated and a need to feel heard. Before social media, you know, when we were kids, you know, our mom said, go outside and play somewhere. Even if you had to play by yourself, you didn't know what the other kids were doing. You didn't know what the other kids had or that they didn't have. But with social media, you think you do. And as adults, we think we know what's going on with other people by what they're projecting on social media, although we really don't know. But when we perceive that other people are feeling better or doing better or being validated or being seen or being heard, it's very important to people and it affects them in a psychological way. In that sense, I can connect that it may be a mental, you know, break or whatsoever. But I just want to emphasize how important it is that every individual feels validated and heard, even on this panel, even on these shows. We all have to listen to one another and give each other a chance to have their voices be reverberated back to us. Because see, when you have an infant and as a mom or dad and you stand in front of that infant and you don't reflect love back to them, you can see physically that a light is going out in them. If your mother is not smiling at the child will begin to cry. That's because we all seek some form of validation until we get strong enough to validate ourselves and love ourselves. And what social media does, like Mr. Big Truck said, you know, there's some people who are posting on social media and they just get blocked. No one's liking or even talking to them. They're not seeing a light reflected back to them that says, I matter too. Thank you, Jen, for listening.
Thank you so much, Joanna. And I want to end on that note. I think that's a beautiful note to end on because I have to run. Jabari, I see you backstage with the comments. Statistics can be skewed. This is the United States of America. They've been lying to their population since the beginning of time. Okay? It's on the rise in our communities, and that's what I want people to look out for. That's why I did this stream specifically, not for how many white people are killing themselves, but how many of us are suffering with suicidal thoughts, mental illness, or hiding behind social media personas that do not exist. That was really the point of this stream. Thank you so much for all your contributions. Big Truck, you are absolutely right. People don't give a damn. So I am asking that people give a damn at least about their immediate circle, and really do ask that question. Are you really okay? I know you're saying you're okay, but are you really, really okay? Because it is a good point. Some people are showing us that, you know what I mean, they're off their rocker. So thank you so much all. I will see you guys here tomorrow if you shall grace me with your presence. And that's it, guys. I am out, and we'll pick this back up another time. Thank you so much for your opinions, even when we don't disagree. Why? Because we're not supposed to agree all the time.
All right. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
Okay,
night.
good.
Jen, quick before you hang up.
Good
Let
night.
me say one thing.
Uh-huh.
I think I like the way you ended. We don't have to always. People think it's an echo chamber in here, but we disagree a lot. You know, and I love everybody on this panel. We disagree. We don't always agree on everything, but like Jay, I don't know who you are. Your name, I'm sorry. Yeah, it gets confused. Joanna. It is important that everybody hears other perspectives. You know, that we offer other perspectives and the why. You know, we want to get to the why, because I think we all actually do care about our people, and we care about the why. So that's it.
All right. Last super chat of the night. Thank you, Code Red, for the smoothie. All right, guys, and we are out here. Thank you so much. Hope to see you guys again on the next subject. It was nice to have ladies up here to cut through the testosterone. Big Truck, please come back, sir. OG Patrice.
Oh, you know I'll be back. Thank you very much, and keep posting the hot pants shorts on what is it called? Instagram.
Get out of here.
Yeah, more hot pants.
He's
more
talking
hot
about
pants.
on Instagram.
All right, Jen. Talk to you later. Salute to the chat.
All right, guys, that was another amazing episode. Again, we don't always have to agree, and we're not supposed to. That's how we can share ideas. I want to leave you with the thought, please, watch out for your family. I know we're all busy. We all got our own lives. We ain't got time to talk to nobody. But every now and then, take a moment so you don't have any regrets. Because although it's not our fault, as they say, if someone takes their own life, we still feel it. So I'm glad that you joined me tonight, and I will see you mañana. Sleep tight. I'm hungry. I gotta go. Good night, guys. Talk to your people.